Schön, schön. Okay. Hey guys. Yeah, I'm taking my time in between. The Wire game stuff and now to make to make some AMA. Well, as a matter of fact, I'm actually flying in like 4 hours to California. To the ESL Legendary Series Finals. Oh, what? To make to make some AMA. I see. I'm still hosting Strive. Okay. Aha. Okay. So. Or should I do weekly recap? Probably weekly recap first and then AMA. Of course with no delay. So here we go. So let me check. Yeah, hey Rasco first and then AMA. So of course with no delay. Suck. Okay, here we go. Now I open the window so that it doesn't lag. Just a second. Alright. So yeah, let's do the weekly recap first and then I'm going to answer questions. Yeah, I'm looking tired. That's the reason is because I am tired. All right. So weekly recap. Yes, like all you guys know, I've been at I talked about it last week, right? That I will make a road trip to Brian Castle. Brian Castle is actually this Castle Dracula. And the Wire game House Cup was actually there. Okay, so this is so that was actually my gamble. So I took the car, drove first to Hungary, Budapest. Very nice stop there. Very nice hotel. I got that was pretty silly because I booked like some good hotel, but. Because there were like no rooms available, they gave me like a double upgrade. So I went to some premier suite, whatever. That was really silly. That was unbelievably silly. I really thought about making photos and showing to you guys, but didn't do it in the end. Could have done that. Yeah, perhaps should have. You definitely wanted to participate a little bit, right? But yeah, whatever. So I was like astonished, and then taking like a look at Budapest. Got some massage, some normal massage, of course, and it's just like silly. I don't know. Like I got a massage, 1 hour for 15 euros, 14. Perhaps like 14 euros, I don't know. Like it's just like in Budapest everything is crazy cheap, but especially stuff like this, so I don't know. Really, really cool. And took a look, a look at the bars, and they were also really good. After that, visited a friend in Debrecen, is also Hungary, and then I went to like the next. I stayed overnight in Budapest and Debrecen another night, and then going to Bran. And the idea was actually to driving like 10 hours perhaps? Nah, not really, not even the idea was to travel 8 hours there. But what actually happened is Suddenly I found, like, it was already in the night, so I drove, and suddenly I'm on this road, and the road, I don't know, like, it consists out of it's like a construction site, but not even worse, like much worse. You cannot even imagine, like, suddenly you have to to drive very slow, like 20-30 kilometers an hour, and drive through like these big holes in the street. And I'm driving, and I think this is like just just a temporary thing. So I'm thinking like, okay, this will probably now continue, let's say 10 kilometers. Yeah, okay, whatever. So after 30 or 40 further kilometers, and this took me like 2 hours, these 30-40 kilometers, because it's really like you're driving 20 kilometers, sometimes you accelerate to 30, but then you have to go all around these holes. They're big holes, and they will just damage your car. Okay, so after 30-40 kilometers, and there was like nowhere to go, like I couldn't go left or right. There's like a gas station, and the guy, he cannot even speak English, but he says something, like my car is a little bit, how do you say it, tiefer gelegt, yeah, so it's like, and he looks at the car and he says, road bad, and I'm saying, yeah, of course the road is bad, but I mean, I can see it, right? I mean, I just took like 2 hours for this 30-40 kilometers, of course the road is bad, yeah, okay, so whatever, so I'm taking another 2 hours. Yeah, I'm just telling you the story because it was so silly. I could have never imagined something like that. So it took me another 2 hours to actually go further, like another 40-50 kilometers. Or 1.5 hours, something like that. Okay. But now it gets silly because the street gets even worse. So there's another gas station, and I'm so tilted that I just stopped by, and there's always, by the way, somebody waiting at the gas stations in Romania. I don't know, because because somebody else could steal gas, but whatever. So this guy can actually speak proper English, and he tells me that there will be, like, this road will continue like this for another 120 kilometers. So now I'm actually in the middle of nowhere. In front of me there's like 120 kilometers. I'm always saying of construction site, but it's much worse. Like, if there wouldn't be a road at all, probably it would be exactly the same. Like, there's stones and big thick holes, and they broke the road in the middle, and it's horrible, guys, it's horrible. And there's also no, like, you cannot go left or right. So actually what it was like that, yeah, I had to go through it, whatever. I'm just telling you this because that was like the horror night of my life. In the end, it took me like to Bran, like from Dipperson to Bran, instead of 8 hours, it took me like 18 hours. Okay, so that was my bad beat story. Arriving at Bran Castle, yeah, that was really cool because I really thought I would never arrive. But then that was really cool, like going into the hotel, checking in the hotel, sleeping, waking up, meeting all the guys, having a nice time, eating good food, drinking, and really awesome desserts, and of course the Viagam House Cup. So playing the Viagam House Cup, what to say? Yeah, I mean, if you have watched the videos, I guess they are self-explanatory, but what can be said to that? Yeah, I mean, short summary, like there were the group stages. I mean, yeah, we won the whole thing, of course, but not of course, but as you know, but the group stages, well, I would say standard bracket, good Firebird ones in it. Firebird is of course a top-notch player, so that made it a little bit more difficult. I mean, in the end, we didn't end up playing Firebird at all, but so that's that. And and there was like Kalash and Handsome Guy. Okay, I didn't know anything about them, so I guess the bracket was, or the group was roughly standard. Against Kalash, we 3-0'd Kalash. I think against Handsome Guy, we 3-2'd. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there is like particularly something to be said. Then there was like the quarterfinals, right? Quarterfinals against this guy who just started to play Hearthstone. I mean, yeah, what can you say about it, right? I mean, it's like, of course, we have a not that difficult matchup against somebody who just started to play Hearthstone, yeah. So that was probably not. I'm not saying it in a rude way, but it was probably not too difficult to take this victory. And we also 3-0'd, but if you, yeah, it was not. It would have been difficult to lose it, to be honest. Really, like. Just, I mean, you know, like, of course in Hearthstone losing is always a possibility, but given, yeah, what I want to say is usually probably we have a game conversion of 60% and against top-notch players perhaps 55. Against him we probably had a 65 in general, but because we also played two decks which were absolutely vulnerable against our lineup, that was probably a 70% game conversion. And I don't think it's overestimated. I think it's roughly 70% game conversion, which a 70% game conversion in the best of 5 usually leads to 84% match conversion. So yeah, basically we will lose this match in 60% of the cases. Okay. So these are just estimations, but I think they are pretty on spot. Then there was the half final against Sivka. That was pretty important. Of course, after we 3-1, we had like no chance to lose the matchup at all, like because it would have meant that his handlock wins against 3 counter classes, so against Paladin. Shaman and Druid, so and all being tagged against handlock. So it's yeah. After we were 3-1, it was clear, but the matches itself were really interesting because we won 2 matches we were unfavored in. So that was actually, yeah, also luck involved for sure. I mean, Sivka is a very good player, new to the scene, but very good. And then the final boss was Stripe Crow. Yeah, I mean, what can you say about it? Okay, so that was super great, the match. Like, really close, really great. Okay, and then actually driving back. The drive back was not that exciting. Actually, I managed to drive around the other street and then it only took 14 hours, I think. Straight to Vienna. Yeah, sleeping just only a little bit, and my cab will actually arrive in 4 hours, which is at 9 AM, so I plan to just stay awake. I wonder whether it's a good idea, but okay, so we can just go to the AMA, I guess. And yes, of course I'm doing this because I will now like fly in 3-4 hours to this ESL thing in California. So I will be away another week. Yeah. So of course no streaming 2 weeks. I know that's a long time. So I just wanted to say hello and update you guys on the stuff I do. So. And Jeffy celebrates with us. Okay, that's very good. Impala TV asked about the rank we got. Yeah, on Europe I just tried, I mean we had like a free shot on Europe, right? So on Europe I tried to go at least top 10, if not top 1. It was close, guys, it was close, we were nearly top 10 on Europe, but then I busted. So we went to 100 something and then I just stopped because I only had 1 day for that, so after being 100 something, I didn't take care of it. And on an A, actually managed to go to rank 6 again, like on the day before the season closed. So that was pretty good. Yeah, okay, and then okay, after this Via game stuff, there was like a celebration. Yeah, long story short, played 1 game, the hotel internet wasn't good, disconnected, went to I think 26 or 25, but it was like 5 hours before the reset. So I guess 25, 5 hours before the reset means whatever, I don't know, 32. 38. I have no idea, whatever it will be, but didn't try hard because, I mean, as you know, now we got a lot of points, so we got 100 WCS points and probably another 10 points for this top 50 finish. So this will probably be 195 points, guys, and 195 points, and that's good news, will be for sure enough for top 8 at the end of the 8 months. 8 months meaning like ending at the end of August. Good news, because we have 3 months before that and we already got the points we need. So now we have a 3-month relaxation. Yeah, we can just like do what we ought to do. We can just try out decks, we can build decks which we like to test, we can practice decks without being under pressure to achieve top ladder finishes, we can play the tournaments we want. Not that you wouldn't do it anyways, but I'm just saying there's also always this a little bit awkward pressure at the end of the season, like now going top 20, going top 10. This is really a little bit awkward pressure because it means that I mean basically the weeks before the last week usually don't matter that much, so it means, yeah, it's bad for pure practice purposes. It's bad because you have to do some stuff to perhaps get more points, whatever. For example, laddering like a maniac the last 3 or 4 days without a break. I would never do that, but because of the strange ladder system, I don't know how you would call it, but because it's probably simply flawed. The ladder system is really flawed, seriously. But despite that, I'm sure they will fix it at some point, because it's just like bad how it is at the moment. But yeah, so we don't need to do that. Yeah. What I mean with bad is the MMR. The MMR also resets at the end of the season, and this is like, it's just so unreasonable that the MMR does reset. It's like, if they would only fix that, everything would be fine. Yeah, only this, only that the MMR doesn't reset, because it's not even logical. Okay, so yeah, it would be like in chess if Kasparov is probably not an active player, that were like my times, but if Kasparov gets reset, like every chess player gets reset after 2 months. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so and I'm not talking about the rank reset, I'm only talking about the MMR. Big White Peony asks, which opponent or deck surprised you the most in the tourney? I don't know, there were not too many surprises, I think. Surprise. Surprises. Opponent or deck? Opponent or deck? Huh. Not really. Not really. Hoten, what's your best tip to get into the competitive scene? Like, I mean, okay, usually I wouldn't answer, like, it's not that the competitive scene is something like, it's not like how do I learn to play soccer, right? It's like, the competitive scene is like really neat. Like, we were talking here about perhaps 30 or 40 slots. If you're talking about the top tier competitive scene. Okay, so you're asking me how you get one of these 30 or 40 slots. And I'm answering this because like many people are asking me a lot. Like, hey, I got legend 3 times already. How do I get into the competitive scene? Okay, just as a short thing, there are two possibilities to go into the competitive scene. Either you're a very, very funny guy and you begin to go on Twitch and broadcast, and you will get a lot of followers. Yeah, probably 20,000 plus is a good start, but if you really want to come into the competitive scene only with your Twitch, with streaming, actually nowadays you need more, because actually there are a lot of funny guys out there. So yeah, I mean, I won't name names, but you know, there are very good streamers out there which are also very entertaining. So probably 100,000 followers plus would be better. I guess if you can somehow get 100,000 plus followers, you have a good chance to get into the competitive scene without too much skill. Option number 2 with skill. Okay, so if you want to come into the competitive scene with skill, would mean get enough WCS points that you end top 8 in the WCS point ladder. That would be probably a good start. The only thing what you need to do for that is probably finish top 10 5 out of 8. If you finish top 10 5 out of 8, well, perhaps you only need like 4 top 10 finishes. So if you finish top 10 half of the seasons, you will have a good shot to get into the competitive scene. Other than that, play a lot of tourneys, tournament qualifiers especially, get into the tournaments and win them. So if you actually win, let's say, 2 major titles would be probably good. 2 major titles probably is a good start to go with. Okay. Now you could say, these are all pretty difficult things. Yeah, and that's why it's not that it automatically is difficult. It's just like, as I said, there are only 30 to 40 slots. So so actually you have to achieve more than the top 30 or 40 guys in the world at the moment are achieving, in terms of funniness, or in terms of streaming, or in terms of playing skill, and so on and so on. Yeah. So you're actually if you want to get into the competitive scene with your funniness, probably you have to be better than Amas or Forzen, or I'm not saying that these are bad players. Like, Forzen is a good player. Amas in the recent time is amazing, like from the ladder results and stuff. Amazing. But okay, so what I'm saying, amazing, like that was amazing, but whatever, that was a very bad one. But as I said, I didn't sleep a lot. Or like you have to match like with skill, people like Colento, Strife Crow, just to name a few. I mean, there are also a lot of others like Savage, Orange. You get the point. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you would say, okay, it's basically nearly not possible for a newcomer to do that. It's not really true. Like, for example, Orange did it with 2 major titles. So Orange is now in the competitive scene by simply achieving to win a lot of qualifiers plus 2 major titles. Sivka, for example, did it well, or is on a very good way to do it, with winning a lot of qualifiers and also pointing high in tournaments. Yeah, getting famous only through the ladder. Naiman did it. Yeah. But then, unfortunately, he didn't. Well, I mean, he did it, but he did the wrong thing. But besides that, there's Crane, for example. Crane, for example, did it with good ladder results. Okay. Oh yeah, and then the nerf. What cards nerfed besides Patron? Do you really think Patron? I mean, you really think Patron is stronger than Thorazin? I mean, you see Thorazin for sure being played in more decks than Patron is, but on the other hand, of course, Thorazin is a neutral card. But I don't know. Stemvold also wanted to convince me that Patron is completely OP. I mean, we've played Patron ourselves, and of course, it's a good deck. Yeah. But in a meta game with more, well, I mean, it depends. But Handlock counters Patron slightly. Well, the version with the BGH, it's counters slightly 5 to 10% favorite. Probably is like Handlock is probably 5 to 10% favorite over the Warriors. Without BGH is 15%. So. What I want to say is then there is more Handlock. What will also change in the meta. Less Face Hunter also is good for Handlock. So I'm not even sure whether Handlock is weaker than Patron. We, for example, last season we only led it with Handlock and pretty successful too. So I'm not sure. But yeah. I mean, it's definitely annoying to play against it, so perhaps they will nerf Patron, who knows. But perhaps they won't, because they also let very, very good and strong cards open anyways. Just talking about Dr. Balance and Thorazin. Yeah, you should just think about it. Like, every control deck nowadays plays Thorazin. Yeah, because it's a clever thing to do. And this means the card is too strong. Yeah, if it's being played in every control deck. The same goes for Dr. Boom, by the way. I mean, Dr. Boom, now you could say, yeah, but some decks doesn't run him. But every deck would run him. Even the faster decks would run. I mean, Magmage, for example, is running him anyways, but also like faster decks would run him if it wouldn't be for BGH. Yeah, if it wouldn't be for BGH. And yeah, the only reason every deck nowadays has to play one BGH is Dr. Boom. So it's all absolutely obvious way too strong, because every deck needs to play him and every deck needs to play BGH because he exists. Yeah, it's but no, they didn't do anything about that, so I'm really wondering about the Grim Patron nerf. Yeah. Okay, because before there are more questions about the crown and the trophy. I still got the trophy. The inflatable plastic crown. Well, how should I put it? It got disposed. Okay, whatever. So please don't ask about the crown anymore. Big White Peony asks, in the Hunter vs Hunter game, did the admins make Strifecrow concede or did he do it himself? No, it was the decisions from the admins. So actually, actually the admins contemplated about it, and the result was that it was not losable for us. So they awarded the win. Also to say a short word to that, like I saw some people saying, in the one turn, like we only him to life or something like that. Like okay. So here's the thing: in the one turn where we brought him to 2 life, you could argue like with the additional 9 damage or 10 damage. Of course, we would have killed him 100%. But it's not only that, but because like the situation was actually being a little bit put on hold, I didn't play my moves, the turns correctly or accordingly. So if you like anybody who takes or who wants to, who has questions about it, can like take a look. Or like speculations about it, can just take a look at the video. And like the turn before we brought him to 2 life, for example, I just didn't play the bow, and it was not because I didn't play the bow, but it was just like it was nearly put on hold at that point already. So of course we simply play the bow the turn before, and even then it's lethal, even with missing the 9 damage. But then being said, like of course we would have never missed the 9 damage. So actually we would have been 11 over lethal, 11 life over lethal. And I would say that's, well, yeah. I mean, for those who watch the games, it should be clear that the decision, any other decision would have not been possible. Seriously, not. What? Crazy Pio asked Coach why you bluff Roger about the rank. No, I didn't bluff him. Like, he was like Roger was rank 15, like 10 hours before the reset, and he wanted to get top 20, and I just told him rank 15 will never be enough for top 20. He has to play now, because like if he wouldn't have played then, he would have never had the time to make more ladder games, because the next day he needed to play all the games. So of course it was not a bluff, that was simply reality. Dux Galore asks, do you think our preference for 3 or 4 classes is a large or smaller weakness? Yeah. No, I'm just wondering a little bit because I think it's not true. Like you're saying preference of 3 or 4 classes. I would say that we are less obviously picking the same classes than other players. As a matter of fact, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm saying this because I've done a lot of scouting in the last few months. Every tournament, I just prepared every tournament my opponent, and in many of these tournaments, or like many of the opponents, actually sticking to 3 or 4 classes, and you can actually predict 3 classes which they will bring. Okay. We had like we had like in the last month, let's say Handlock, Druid, Paladin, Mech Mage, and Mech Warrior. So these were like 5 classes, but because of the 5 classes being very versatile, we could actually always use the classes which counter exactly the opponent's matchups or the class of the opponent, which is also good because this makes us less predictable. Also, if you think about this, like if you play against an opponent who always plays like the same 3-4 classes, we can just counterpick these classes, but they cannot really switch everything because they don't know exactly which 3 classes we bring, because it also depends on them. So I would disagree with us being not versatile, rather the opposite. And now we even added like mid-range hunter to our repertoire, putting mid-range hunter as a additional possibility. And Grim Patron Warrior. So now actually perhaps Mech Warrior is not viable anymore because of what? No, I wonder because of what. No, I don't know, but whatever. So there's still like, it didn't change, it never changed. So there will always be like Handlock, and it not always, but at the moment like it's Handlock, Druid, still Paladin, Mech Mage, always a possibility. But now there's also Grim Patron and Midrange Hunter. We have like 6 decks, we only need 3 in theory. So no, it's definitely like rather the opposite. I think at the moment we have too many decks because you cannot. Okay, perhaps that's a luxury because we focused in the last because we focused in the last month on our decks, that we actually perfectionized some of them, and then even could add another decks because you could even add other decks. Yeah, sorry about my. I'm not super focused, as I said. Like I didn't sleep any. But okay. So what I'm saying is, of course, we are now experts with the decks we played the whole time, which are like again like Handlock, Paladin, Druid, and Mech Mage. So we could add Patron and Midrange Hunter and actually can now get expertise in them, which makes and enables us to be perfectionized in 6 decks. And I think I wouldn't know anybody who actually perfectionized 6 decks, to be honest. But yeah, so I don't want to exclude the possibility. I'm just saying it's not usual. Okay, so. Pilot TV says something, okay, now it guarantees BlizzCon, we should not go too complacent. I think it doesn't guarantee BlizzCon. I think we still need to win 1, right? Or do we need to win 2 matches in order to get to BlizzCon? I'm not sure. But no, of course, no complacency. Of course, we always try to give our best. But this is what I'm saying. Like now we can really focus only on increasing our playing strength, because this is rather like what's important for me. So, of course, I didn't want to skip the ability to get to BlizzCon. So this meant I make a compromise by saying, okay, I'm going for some points, but at the same time going for the points. I'm not saying it goes contrary to our goal to actually achieve the biggest playing strength, but it's not the same. Like if our goal is to achieve the highest playing strength, it's different from our goal getting as many points as possible. And my goal is usually not to get as many points as possible, but rather to get as good as possible. Yeah. So now I'm really happy that we can again focus on the first thing. And this is prime time to test out Savic's Majordomo mage. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Okay. Big White Peony asked, how did you decide which of your opponent's decks to ban? Well, I did the scouting. I checked out with which decks my opponents were like very comfortable, and then usually banned the decks. I mean, either I banned the decks they are comfortable with, or in the case, for example, like also if I don't like the decks, for example, them actually playing the decks where they are good with against our builds. On the other hand, like for example, like with this Rebind, for example, I mean, he played Control Warrior and Handlock. Our decks were actually tagged against that, so I didn't. I mean, it was rather like a really nice, comfortable thing, because I knew like if I ban something else, he will definitely pick these two classes. So I could actually make the picks already depending on his picks. So I knew that he will for sure pick Control Warrior and Handlock. So I just banned something else and then hard counter like these two classes. Yeah, and it worked. So that was also pretty good. I mean, that being said, like we didn't even need to have that. Like as you know, like the Shaman was completely anti-handlock tagged. So picking the Shaman very early so that he can actually not open with handlock, but in the end we 3-0'd him. But if we wouldn't have 3-0'd him, he would have opened something we would have had like 80% against. Yeah, because we had like the heavy counter decks against that. Paladin as the heavy counter against Warrior, and Shaman as the heavy counter against Warlock. Program Break asked, so what was Lifecoach rank last season? I missed it. I missed the end due to Wire Games. Yeah, actually I missed the end of the ladder due to Wire Games too. But yeah, okay. Final Form-Up asked, can you tell us the 3 best decks right now for Conquest and why? Well, Conquest is rather more or less like ladder, so you're actually asking me what are the 3 best decks for ladder. I mean, I went into detail like a little bit earlier, like I think like exactly a week ago I showed you like how you should analyze the meta and how you can actually determine the top 3 tier classes. But I mean, they are like viable top tier 1 decks. You cannot say what are like the 3 best decks because meta changes very very quickly. But there are tier 1 decks and there are no tier 1 decks. So as a general rule, like you can never do anything wrong if you just, let's say, play Druid, Handlock, Grim Patron, Midrange Hunter, Dragon Control Warrior. But these are not so. I think like top tier is like always Druid, Handlock, Patron. Perhaps then followed by Paladin, Midrange Hunter, Mech Mage and Dragon Control Warrior. Whereas it doesn't matter too much whether you play Dragon Control Warrior or whether you play Control Warrior. So rather this. Classes you should avoid, Priest and Shaman. Pretty easy, right? No magic attached. Okay. So what program break is? Oh yeah. I'm really like this AMA is. I'm really trying to get all through the questions, so it goes a little bit fast. But a program break is saying something about the 50k followers. So that referred on me saying if you want to get famous with Twitch, you probably need like 100k followers. And yeah, it's true. Like we also don't try to get invited because of our Twitch presence, but rather because. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to get invited without also being good at the game. It would not. It would also feel really weird, to be honest. Like just getting invited and then losing everything is probably not like what's the nicest thing to. I mean, just also from the travel. I mean, like this would mean you always have to travel a long time. Like traveling is so stressful, and then if you bust out first game, or first match, it's really like unsatisfying. I'm not saying that it can not very often also happen to us, but I'm just saying every time this happens, you travel somewhere like 10-15 hours, and then you just bust out the first in the first round or like in the first 2 matches. Yeah, that's really not satisfying. Okay. Yeah. Patron is neutral. Yes. Yeah. But it's not really okay. Perhaps it's a little bit. Okay, so yes and no. Patron is a neutral card, but this 1 damage effects which make Patron good are I wouldn't say like it's only warrior, but I think it's mainly warrior. So it's like there's one class which has like these 1 damage effects, and that's warrior. Yes, Patron is a neutral, but I would compare it to what else is it would be like the Death Lord. Yeah, the Death Lord is also a neutral, but it only fits the priest scheme. So yes, the Patron is a neutral card, but it only fits the warrior scheme. Yeah. So it's not like Thorism, which actually doesn't fit to fit the scheme. Yeah, okay. So many questions. Okay. Okay. What I think about running the POs and the power overwhelming face and arcane golem and the handlock deck. Nothing. I don't like it at all. All being very bad cards for handlock as standalones, and the combo is difficult to get. Also with the handlock you win through board presence and not through a burst combo, in my opinion. Of course there are some games you win with a burst combo which you wouldn't have won otherwise. Usually against handlock, by the way, but yeah, no, I mean it's like you win through board control, not through the burst combo. Amped DKJ asks, can you speak on when I made the mistake and only taunted one Molten Giant instead of both? I mean, you can take a look at it yourself if you want. Like, it's very obvious. Like, I play the first Molten Giant, I play the second Molten Giant, and I place the defender in the middle of both. And then suddenly the defender squeaks to the right and only taunts up one after like I dropped it. So yeah, you can just take a look at the video. It's yeah, on YouTube you have like all 3 days of videos, and this happened at the first day, right, against Handsome Guy. Yeah, you can just take a look at it and what you think about it. But I think it cannot be more middle than where it was placed. Happens, I guess. I mean, I cannot do anything about that. Yeah, thank you very much, Tony. Like, he congratulates to the tournament win. Yeah, I'm just far behind the chat, pretty much, yeah. Okay, Amagarama asked about the Ragnar's over scenarios and Ragnar's over Xeraxus in the handlock. Yeah, I've been through this question many times, so there should be Yeah, you can just Google it, probably you will find it. Like I've addressed this in various throughout videos. So, yeah, because there's not a short explanation to it. I would need to explain it. And like in a bigger, and I already did that in the past. Yeah, perhaps Lava Shock, yeah. I mean, if Lava Shock would deal 3 damage, probably Shaman would have been balanced again. I mean, now how it is, it's simply bad, but yeah, perhaps Lava Shock for 3 would have probably been a very, very good idea. Also very funny, because Lava Shock is actually a really funny card, but for 2 damage, like, it's only funny for the opponent. But like, if it's like for 3 damage, of course, then it's mandatory, then you have to play twice. But on the other hand, then it would be really great, yeah, because then you have a card for Shaman, of course they play it twice, but they also, like, until yet, like, some of the overloaded cards are also not good enough, so this would actually incentivize, like, if every deck is forced to play 2 mana bursts, yeah, simply because they deal 3 damage, of course they are good, then it would much more incentivize to play just cards with better overload, or more cards with overload in general, and this would then again bring like stuff like Unbound Elemental back. So that would be really cool, yeah. Based Wombat asks like about the priorities, or there's a lot of things we do when approaching a turn. Well, it's probably first of all the time estimation of what we got. So probably the first 3, well actually the first 3 seconds, like it's probably rather a feeling like you probably do this in the opponent's turn. You ask yourself how difficult your next turn will be. Yeah. Because then you can actually determine whether you can spend your resources on something else. I just give an example. If you see that it's a very easy playing decision, you will have much more time to actually count lethal, for example. Or in your opponent's turn, you can also determine whether it could be close to lethal. So you're actually, in your opponent's turn, you're checking like the things, right? I mean, could it be perhaps lethal or not? If not, you don't count lethal in your next turn. And you check, okay, will it be a more easier or a more difficult decision? And also depending on that, you will then again be able to determine whether you should spend time on that. So probably in your opponent's turn you already think about how your resource allocation will take place. So let's say there is a possible lethal, then you probably count it like depending on also again like how complex your move will be, or depending on how depending on how you anticipate how difficult your remaining move, or how time intense your remaining move will be. Yeah. So if you play Grim Patron Warrior and you have 2 options, either to lethal him or to play like a super great combo, and this combo will require 40-50 seconds, you don't have so much time to think about lethal, so you just estimate it. It's just an example. But you get the general idea. You have to think about, okay, for what things do I need how much time? But you always want to actually exercise your move. The best would be if you would use all your time, by the way. So if you at the end of your turn used all the time in an effective fashion, then you did it perfectly. But of course, in general, you should end your turn, let's say 10-15 seconds. Yeah. Your planning should be that you end your turn 5 to 10 seconds before, because something unexpected can always happen, right? This is, by the way, also one of the things why chat really often sees lethal more than the player, because the chat just has more time. So where the player has to think about first, like, okay, how do I allocate my time, and then perhaps counts for a possible lethal, but he needs to see it in few seconds. I mean, if he thinks it's close, then he will begin to count, but again then, like, it's really easy to spot a lethal and then to simply write lethal, but being very sure of it, because you cannot exercise a lethal and then you're not right? So even if you spot a lethal, you have to exactly calculate it, so you're 100% sure that it really is lethal. Yeah. Because if the chat spots some lethal and it's not lethal, yeah, then nothing. Then probably the same guy writes lethal in the next game. I don't know. But for the player, if he spots a lethal and it's not a lethal, then he just loses the game. Yeah, also happened to enough players. Yeah, IRTT asks, how long have you been growing your beard for? Yeah, it's not about the beard, like it's rather the correct question would be how long didn't I shave? Yeah, and that's quite a long time. Or how long? Yeah. No, it's basically that. Okay, Commander is hexing his own Dr. Boom and then has to release it. Okay, that's a good one. Okay. Yeah, Adi asked about the nodes in the tourney. Well, it's about the classes and which classes are good against which classes. Oh, Betrus asks, why does Shaman have to be the RNG class and the Overload class? Well, it's not bad, like, not at all. But as I said, like, a nice card. I mean, the Lava Burst is really a very, very, very superb idea. Like, I really like it. Like, actually getting like your crystals unloaded is really a genius idea, but then unfortunately they made the card too weak. It's like the Murloc, like this 4 mana Murloc, which actually is overloaded and has 2/5. It's a really great idea to make the Shaman the Murloc class, but unfortunately they just messed up the Murloc. Messed up. He just made the Murloc too weak, obviously, yeah. So otherwise the card draw Murloc is actually a really great idea for Murloc deck. Like Murloc deck needs card draw, so it's really great actually to play this draw Murloc, or to implement something like a draw Murloc. But the draw Murloc sucks, guys. He's simply bad. Okay. So what? Craze Kid says Dr. Boom is an easy turn 7 card. How do you feel if it would get balanced? What? to 8/8 with the same battle card for 9 mana. Yeah, then it would be crap. But perhaps you can just make him 8 mana or something. I don't know. If you make him 8 mana, he's super balanced. Like then he is really balanced. Then he perhaps is. Yeah, I wouldn't say he's too weak then. I guess then he would be. Nah. Definitely not top tier, but that would be a fair card, I guess. Yeah, and the bat attack, yeah, that was pretty hilarious, the bat attack, for sure. Oh, and then there was something, like the battle tag got leaked, and thank you very much, like, I cannot even say it's a Twitch community, but it was like, somewhat like the battle tag in-game got leaked, and I got like in the next game, I got like 278 friend requests, and no, I haven't counted 278. I just at the end of the game I clicked on my friend symbol, and there were like 278 friend requests, and I'm like it pops. I couldn't make the no disturb mode because then I don't hear the admin, or like then I don't see like what the admin actually is writing. But if you don't make the no disturb mode, you always have like pling 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 pling. Yeah, that's like, that was super annoying. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, that's, yeah, that, I don't even know whether that was like something individuals concluded that they should now do this, or whether it was like a conclusion, but it was annoying at best. So probably exactly achieved what it should achieve. Deagle Stylus is asking what's my advice for people who are playing on mobile and are trying to catch up. Yes, that's a good one. If you're playing on a mobile phone, I would advise you probably not to do it if you want to catch up. Like, yeah, you just handicap yourself, right? So if you just play it for fun, of course you can just play it on mobile, but if not, you just handicap yourself. Especially if we are talking about iPhones here. Yes, Hunter on mobile. I guess that's a good one. Like Tokyo's guy says, like he could just play Hunter on mobile, and yeah, that's actually pretty true. Like, and perhaps that's one of the reasons why so many face hunters are around. Yeah, because now they implemented this stuff for the iPhone. And I could imagine, I mean, the only real thing you can just play on your iPhone is probably Hunter. I mean, then it really plays like the other iPad apps, right? I mean, or iPad apps or iPad games, right? I mean, they are like these slash games on the iPad. You only do this like an ape, like just like this. And with the Hunter, it's I think it's the same. It's the same exercise, yeah, or the same execution. So perhaps you can just do it, yeah. Scree asked about how do you feel about the qualified opposition that you face at Wire Game. Same level as the invites, or is there a noticeable difference skill-wise? Okay, now here's the thing. In ancient times online and in Hearthstone means like 1.5 years ago, invited people. Like 1.5 years ago, tournaments were mainly like partly for only invites. Let's say 1 year ago, it was like invites and qualifiers, nearly how it is nowadays. And the invited players were much, but they were much worse than the qualified players. Yeah, why that was because at that time it was not that easy to measure skill, so it meant like for invitations, mostly the Twitch numbers were counted. So people which were famous or had a good stream, they were getting the invites. Yeah, but just because they were known as players of the game. So what it is actually, if you qualify for some tournament, it means that you were good enough to actually win a tournament, namely the tournament before. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to win it. Sometimes you get like 2 or 4 slots from 256 players, but you have even this, like, it means like winning, not winning, but proceeding very, very far in a tournament. Okay, now how does this measure skill? Of course it measures some skill, because you cannot proceed incredibly far in a tournament without having any clue. And then the more clue you have, the bigger your chances are. But then again, we are talking about many players playing this tournament. So it means, yes, skill takes an important role, but and you can definitely achieve to increase your chances a lot with skill. But it would be wrong to say, so you can actually achieve that your chances just skill-wise increase 100-fold. So if you are an insanely great player, you can have 100 times this the expectation from a bad player. But we may not draw the wrong conclusions from that. So the conclusion is not that qualified players are automatically very skillful. Yeah, I'm just saying like being skillful achieves to get you a higher percentage of actually proceeding, but in general they are most non-skilled players, or not that skilled players, than very skilled players. And the reason for that is very easy. It's always like a curve. So on the top you have very, very small amounts of top people. It's not only in Hearthstone, it's in anything like this. And then it gets bigger to the mass. So this is always like the curve you got. Yeah. It can, of course, the shape can look different, but usually the lower you go from the top, you have manifold of players. So what does this mean for tournaments? Okay, so if you have a tournament with 256 players, and out of these 256 players you got 10 top-notch players and 240 not good players, the chance that a not good player achieves the qualification is higher than that the top-notch players achieve the qualification. Now how can this be? Let's say every top-notch player out of these 10 has, let's say, a 2% chance to qualify. Just because they are so much more skillful than the other 250, where everybody of them has only a 0.4% to qualify. So actually the 10 people, all like everybody for himself has like a 5 times higher chance to qualify because they are so skillful. It still means that 80% of the people who qualify are actually not that skillful. Yeah. Okay, I just take the bow to the transition to what I wanted to say before. So we can say a guy. Sorry that it was so long. It was really not very well put. But a player who qualifies through a tournament can be very skilled, but can also be not that skilled. In average, they are probably above average for sure, also good average. But that's about it. So this is what you usually get. Now, 1 year ago, the invited players were less than that. They were weaker than good, above, strong average players. They were just weaker. Okay. So, but this evened itself out. So probably roughly half a year ago, it evened itself out. So half a year ago, probably the invites as being strong, good, above average players were as strong. So the qualifiers as being strong, good, above average players were as good as the invited people. Nowadays, it's definitely that the invited people are stronger, for sure, because the invited players nowadays, like, it actually filtered itself out, and nowadays the very top-notch players gets invited. Of course, there are also players who don't necessarily hit all the requirements from only a skill point of view, but these became really few. But on the other hand, the ones which actually showed their skill over and over again and skill displayed over and over again and being invited because of this, this number actually stayed and even increased. Yeah, because these players don't get just like, let's say, would you say disposed again? Yeah, for example, somebody like Strifecrow, who's doing very well in tournaments over and over again, it's not like that. Like, players who do well with playing skill, they, like, as long as they try hard and stay on the top, you will see them over and over again. So actually in the end it boils down that that some of those players who cannot actually hold the rankings or like hold their reputation because of their skill, they get exchanged or some drop out. But players who actually achieve to stay on the top due to their skill, they can of course not easily get exchanged that well. So that means in the end the invited players will probably get stronger and stronger in the long run, as you can see. So yeah, we are actually at the point where the invites are not only justified from a viewership point of view, but also from a skill point of view. And I think it also could be seen because like many of the invited players actually achieve to advance or advance more often. Oh, and when I talked about the application on the iPad with the hunters, I of course only am talking about the face hunters. Yeah, hunters with board interaction. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the hunters who even go face if the trade on the board would be just not justified, because with the face hunter it's never justified. Yeah, but like that's the point, right? Okay. Okay. Yeah, AMF is something about like Lifecoach is well on his way to being the 2015 Hearthstone World Champion. Yeah, it's probably rather about chances. So I don't even know like how many people are these participating in the BlizzCon tourney? So four from each region, or what is this? Or is it 8 from each region? I think it's 8 from each region, right? So it's like what, 32 people, 64 people? So I guess if it's 64 people, but it's definitely 64 at least, because like we also have to go through one round. So with 64 people, like in average, our chances if we would be average probably would be 1.5% to win the whole thing. 1.5. So we would need like 60 years, in average 60 years to be world champion once. If we would be average, like as strong as the average field. So now we are probably stronger than the average field. But how much? Because like all of these will be very strong and smart people. So perhaps, I don't know, perhaps our game conversion can go up to 55 to 60%. I guess something like that. So probably then the chance of winning the whole thing will increase to 3% perhaps. Perhaps to 4%. But no matter how much it is, probably yes. The chances are less than slim. Yeah. I'm Danny Wu asked whether Strifecrow missed his flight. Yes, actually Strifecrow missed his flight. I heard something like because I was roping, but then again he was roping too, so I guess we are even on that one. It's super funny because I've met Strifecrow. I mean, you know that he's like from America, and I met him here in Europe somewhere. Yes, at Gfinity. I think it was Gfinity. Or was it somewhere else? Yeah, I forgot, but it doesn't matter. So I said, but that was not so long ago. So no, yeah. It's a Seed Story. I met him at Seed Story, and we actually had a great time. Like we went out having food together, like few times, 2 times, and very good talks, even 3 times, and very good talks. And yeah, we were really coming well around with each other. But okay, so the story is actually that then few weeks later, like only a few weeks later, I meet him again. Whereas before it was like the Seed Story location, really also chilly place, Germany, he from the US, and now we meet in Bran Castle, like at the Castle Dracula, again to like really, really funny, like meeting like at completely different places in the world. And now actually, like we were saying goodbye to each other like 2 days ago, and yeah, but I told him, yeah, I'm flying to LA, like he's now living in LA, and but actually now I'm flying to LA, so I will be able to visit him, and that's like 3 days later, like 3 days after it's just silly. Okay, whatever. Okay, 16 total, 4 from each. 4 from each. Yeah, but then we also need to qualify, so it's like top 32. We are actually top 32. Okay, then an average is 3%, and if we are well above average and can actually achieve to make our get our games to 55 to 60%, perhaps it's then 6%. But still, it's not. It's not very high. LFT Unstable asked, how can you tilt so much after losses coming from a poker background? You don't watch us very often, do you? If you think we are tilting over losses. I mean, first of all, we are never tilting over losses. We are only tilting about bad decisions. And second, we are never tilting about it, but we are only angry about it. Tilting is different. Tilting means, well, what I'm saying is, yeah, okay, bad decisions sometimes will affect our gameplay in the future stages, but only by a little bit. But from losses we are never affected. So, and I'm saying, like, even after bad decision, I would not even call it tilting too much, because compared to other players tilting, it's ridiculously low. So I wouldn't, yeah. It seems you don't watch us very often, do you? Okay. Is it true? So Bolo Tojor asks, is it true that the older the card is, the less it has to be? Okay. So what you're saying is the cards become weaker. Like older cards become weaker. Yeah, of course, because newer cards get stronger. Or there are newer cards which okay, the new cards which will be played will get stronger. Of course, the stronger the average card, the weaker the old cards are. Sure. Yeah. Indian Food asks why we never play Zoo. Because with Zoo you cannot. It's because, and like that's one of the points. The reason why we don't play Zoo is because we don't get matched against equally skilled opponents, and that's actually one of the few reasons. Another reason is that I don't like fast decks, but the reason I don't like fast decks mainly is because you cannot skill display that much, especially not against weaker players. So it means with a fast deck against, let's say with a fast deck against the same skilled opponent, you would have, let's say 50%. Against a much weaker skilled opponent with a fast deck, you probably get 60% win rate. Okay. With a control deck, against an equally skilled opponent plus you have like 50%. But against a much weaker opponent you suddenly have like 65, perhaps 70%. Okay, and how does this matter? Yeah, the ladder system, how it is currently, matches you continuously against much weaker opponents. It can of course be, but okay. So once you have a legend level and a good legend level, you need, let's say, a 60 to 65% win rate to keep it. So it means the matchmaking system actually matches you against opponents, and you need like 60 to 65% against them. And obviously we also have this 60 to 65%, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to hold our ranks. Yeah. Okay, so actually what it means is that the matchmaking system matches us against opponents where we have 60 to 65% against, which means they are much weaker than us. Because in Hearthstone, to get 60 or 65% win rate in average, your opponent must be much weaker than you, because it means that it's not like, I mean, it may not seem much, like 50, 60, 65, everything roughly the same. But in reality it is like this. You, like against an equally skilled opponent, you win 50 games and he wins 50 games. Okay, so if you want to have 65%, it means you have to win 15 of your 50 games you wouldn't have won otherwise. So what it means is, if you want to achieve a 65% game win rate, it means that you have to win 30% of all the games you would have lost. 30%. Yeah. I mean, just imagine, like you just lose a game, but you don't lose it. And this happens in 30% of the cases. Yeah. Meaning your opponent just throws 30% of his games. Because it has to be. Because if you play well and he plays well, you lose all 50 games. So it means that if you play well, your opponent has to throw these games actively. Yeah. And now you can think about it. Yeah. It's really difficult to throw 30% of your games. Okay, voluntarism says what you're saying is not reflected in top ladder finishes. All 6 of the people I know in top 30 were playing fast decks. Okay. Okay, it's about bias. Okay, so okay. If 90% of the population out there plays fast decks, and let's say at the end of the season 60% or 70% of the top finishers played fast decks, it means that fast decks are bad for ladder purposes. Okay? It's just a bias. So what you are saying is, I know some people or many people in the top ranks playing fast decks. Yeah. But this, you're actually saying nothing. It's like, yes, there can be like some people or many players playing top ladder finishes in the top ladder finishes with fast decks. Yeah, you got the point, right? So it's like you have, of course, to compare the population of people playing slow decks, and then you have to match this with the population of slow decks achieving top ladder finishes. And I'm sure then you will get to a true result. And the true result, in my experience, is usually that there is a quite surprisingly high number of slow decks as the being in the top finishes. With, for example, 30% slow decks being in the top 10, 20, 30 would be already a lot, because in average there are not 30-40% of slow decks being played throughout the population. Okay. Many gaming ask about the glasses, whether they protect from headache and eye strain. Yes, for sure. For sure they do. But I could put a moving object in the background, so you see whether the stream froze or not. Yeah. Okay. Ja, Tamaxli ist Mr. Klugscheiß, ja? Okay, fine. Good stuff. So, was ist hier? Okay, voluntarism says like in the top 20 there were like 80% fast decks. Yeah, I would wonder about it. Whether it... I mean, I don't know where you got these numbers from, but for example, a patron warrior I wouldn't consider a fast deck, for example. Yeah. Okay, I think. Okay. See, it. Ermin and Rio asked what happened to Token Druid. Why isn't it played anymore? Yeah, because it's not that good. Also, like nowadays with Patreon, like there's no reason to play that. Inaba Yui asked, please talk about what was going on behind the scenes during the Extreme Leg versus Strife crew. Well, actually, I was just. Well, I mean, it lagged, and I, of course, was like, what the fuck? Like, I just missed 9 damage. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, I mean, like that. I mean, nothing more, right? I mean, the admin came and he said something about, yeah, blah blah, that must be discussed, but in the end, like, they said, okay, everybody agreed that it's yeah, basically won. Sir Rattleballs asks, at the top of Legend aren't most players equally skilled, so wouldn't it be better to play a fast deck since you can't raise the win rate by outskilling them? What do you mean, like, aren't most players equally skilled? Like, if most players are equally skilled, you have a 50% win rate. Okay. No, they are not equally skilled. The skill gap, even the skill gap from the top 10, top 20 players of the world is huge, and the skill gap from the top 2000 players of the world is incredibly big, like insanely big. And this is also why I'm always a little bit smiling if people are saying I achieved like 3 times, 5 times Legend, how can I get into the competitive scene? Yeah, because if you get Legend, it means nothing, guys, seriously. Okay, this is a little bit harsh to be said, but because what I'm not degrading this, I'm not degrading the achievement. If you get Legend with being a casual player, that's huge. Yeah, so don't misunderstand me, don't understand me wrong here. Getting Legend as a casual player is huge. It means you're very clever and talented with not much effort to achieve Legend. Yeah. But in general, if you're playing this game every day and you're really practicing it a lot and you get Legend, it means nothing. Really not. I mean, it's clear. I don't want to sound as harsh as it sounded. Of course, it means something, because it means, of course, you are attached to the top 10,000 players from the server or whatever, or to the top 5,000 players. You belong to the population of players who are good at this game, but good doesn't mean top notch. It's like if you compare, I don't know, like compare somebody who just won something in any sport, whatever, in a small league, and then he's saying, oh, I just won this, can I somehow get to the how do you call this, FIFA Cup or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It just is a difference of day and night, of the sun and the moon. Like, it's really like achieving Legend and then being as skillful as one of the top players is a completely different story. Yeah. And this is also why I advise, like, just like for all these players who actually achieve Legend and then thinking about getting it competitive, just to try to get like some top 10 ranks. Just go for it. And because I know also many players seem to think, okay, like once you're legend, okay, top 10, like or like finishing top 10 is not such a big issue and stuff like this. But I'm sure, like, I mean, whatever, like people saying, oh, if I would just spend a little bit more time, then it would be such easy. I know I can do it. I know I have the potential to easily achieve that. It's not that easy, guys. It's not that easy. Okay. And again, just to make it clear, I'm only talking about the competitive players, yeah, which is a small population. So I'm talking about these players who really take it seriously, who only do this perhaps plus 5 hours school every day or whatever, but who really do this mainly as the main occupation or as the main thing. I'm only talking about these players. I'm not talking about any players who do this as hobby or something, yeah. Because all players who do this as hobby, legend is insane. Like it's super difficult. Yeah, it's super difficult. Already level 5 is probably the first big step for the casual players. Yeah, so I'm not talking about guys who are not spending 4 hours at least every day. Yeah, I'm only talking about the guys who are actually spending like 4 hours a day on this game and then getting legend and then thinking, okay, now they can simply go for it. Going full pro mode, probably not. Okay, so the best class, yeah, I already said that, but just to say it again, the best classes should be like Druid. It always depends on the meta, so whenever the meta changes, something else will be top tier, not top tier, but the best class or the best 2-3 classes will change, but usually top tier classes are like Druid, Handlock, Patron, Warrior, and then you can perhaps add like directly after that like Paladin, Midrange Hunter. Yeah, perhaps not Paladin, but I like Paladin, but depending on the Harrison environment, perhaps not Paladin, but if no Harrisons, then probably Paladin belongs. Midrange Hunter, Control Warrior, Mech Mage, depending on how much Freeze Mage is being played, and then the bottom tier classes are Priest and Shaman. LG Kagami says, in your honest opinion, which class takes the most skill to play? Ha! It's interesting. Most skill to play. Oh, which deck probably, right? Because, I mean, Patron Warrior is probably very difficult to be perfectionized, like to play perfectly. I guess Patron Warrior is probably the most difficult deck to be played. Perhaps. I mean, I don't know, like, I don't feel like Handlock is too difficult, but, I mean, I would name Handlock as the second most difficult deck. But perhaps it's even the most difficult decks. I mean, like, you know that we actually only play, super, play Handlock super much, so for us, like for me it doesn't seem to be too difficult, but perhaps it's just really biased because we've played that so much. Because like whenever I meet people or whenever I see people playing handlock, they make like so strange things. So probably handlock, yeah, handlock patron. Yeah, perhaps it would be just easier to tell the decks which are not difficult to be played. I don't know. And yeah. Yeah, Jack Bauer 85 asked Lifecoach, what is your opinion of Oil Rogue? Saw you playing it at the tournament and I really liked your deck tech. Well, actually, if you mean the deck tech of Harrison, then I thank you very much, because that's actually the only deck tech I included. So what I actually did, like I took just Mr. Yagut's version, yeah, and exchange Harrison as a tournament tech. So because I'm not a rogue expert, as you all know, so I think if you're not an expert at something, you just listen to the experts. So one of the experts and who is very good at Oil Rogue is Mr. Yagut. So it only seems natural to just take just use the version he came up with, and then I tagged it for the tournament with Harrison. But that's basically everything. To be honest, I didn't even plan to use it. I only planned to use it against special classes, so I didn't feel the urge to actually do more about the deck. Jack Boa asks, should I grow a beard if I'm trying for top 10 legend this season? Well, the thing is not about that the beard grows, but as I said, it's about not shaving. So if you actually go for top 10 legend this season, you probably won't have the time to shave. So you automatically will grow a beard. Yeah. Okay, about the watch. Okay, now this is like the 6th question about the watch. So today this is like what I wear, and this is yeah, I can just show it to you. Oh, what? Ah, I'm lagging. Do I? Yeah, I can reduce. I think I will reduce the frames. I reduce the frames, the encoding, to see whether it will get better then. Yeah, good Austrian internet. Yeah, I guess it doesn't get better. So what I will do is, I mean, we've also answered now for like 2 hours. So I guess it's also time to come at an end. No, it's Yeah, it seems to be better now, but let me check. Okay, so alright, here we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so to the watch I wear today, you can take a look at it. Yeah, please. So that's the watch. It's a standard. Well, it's not nothing special. It's like I think like this I got back at the days when I was like still living in Berlin. And what to say to it? Yeah, nothing. It's a Breitling and it's a Breitling Navy timer. Breitling Navy timers always look like this. Yeah, okay. Nice, okay. So, continue with the questions. Yeah, I actually answered the question so that the questions get Hearthstone related again, but yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, but that's good. And I mean, no more questions, but also like after 2 hours, it's also time to finish this AMA. I'm really happy that you watched, and yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say hi for like the few hours I've been like in Vienna. I mean, few hours. I've been like in Vienna 1.5 days before actually I travel again, but just wanted to say hi so that you don't miss me after like 2 weeks of non-streaming. Giving you updates and saying that I'm well and what will actually be the plans and what actually happened. What I did is like the recap of the last week at the beginning. So now to the plans for the week to come, which means in 2 hours I will actually drive to the airport with a cab and from there take the plane to Burbank. Burbank is actually in California, so I already put myself like bathing clothes because we will be at the beach in California, and I cannot wait for taking like some hours at the beach again after missing the Cayman Islands a little bit. So that will be awesome. I'm also taking my wife there, so we will have like a week of holiday together. No, not a full week, but 5 days. 5 days. That's really convenient. Playing the ESL Final Legendary Series there. Yeah, the preparation was not too much. I mean, simply because yeah, we have been away till now, and I just had like 2 hours to submit the decks. So don't expect too much from that. I guess our decks will be not top notch, but okay. I mean, pretty standard to be honest. Like nothing special. Yeah. But yeah, looking forward to that, of course. There are two options: we bust out or we don't. If we don't bust, we simply win. If we bust out, I will enjoy, I will visit Strive Crew, of course, in LA, but also I will enjoy LA and the Californian beach. Okay, that's it from my side. Thanks for watching and have a nice one, guys. See you later. Bye.